Right before I got to KU, I worked with them, and they told me a little bit about it.
Where were you before? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Lenexa, so not too far.
Right.
I went to Cheyenne Mission West High School, and I was a lifeguard at some of the Lenexa pools, and just happened to work with a couple KU rugby players. They told me about it, and I was like, okay, I mean, it's cool. But with my experience with rugby in America up to that point, I didn't really expect a whole lot, like organization-wise and whatnot. So freshman year, I mean, I knew I would come out and try it, and I dragged my roommate out with me. I told him, this is probably just going to be like 5 or 6 guys, kicking a ball around in a field. And we showed up to Westwick on the first day, and then we had an Australian coach. So I showed up to like 40 to 50 guys, an Australian coach, and just a well-run, well-organized machine on these 2 full-size fields. And it was like I'd died and gone to heaven, because it was everything I was hoping for in a club sport.
How'd your dad feel about it when you started telling him about it?
Oh, he thought it was amazing. I mean, he thought I couldn't have ended up anywhere better, because he'd also always wanted that ability for me to play the sport.
Okay, so you're the one kid in rugby who grew up to be wanting to be a rugby player. Like, what was your story then?
So mine's a little bit different. So I played football for most of my childhood, played at Rockhurst High School, and then I'd always wanted to play college, but towards the end of my senior year, I didn't really get recruited as much as I would have liked. And one of my dad's friends from high school had founded a youth rugby club for high schoolers called the Kansas City Junior Blues. And he was basically begging me to play, so I thought, why not go out and try it out? And when I started practices, I wasn't kind of sure about it. And our first games was like a round robin 2-day tournament in St. Louis. So we go there, win our first game. I didn't play a lot because obviously I wasn't very experienced. And then the night before our second game, our whole team was in the hotel room taking shots of Captain Morgan. And then we went out the next day, played a team, and won 99-0. And I was like, you know what, this is awesome. So from then on, I was bought in. We're a little more disciplined here at KU now, but I was bought in, and since then, I've been playing. When I decided to go to KU, the club being here was just a perfect fit.
To be fair, I would be more enthusiastic about any sport that involved shots of Captain Morgan than maybe a sport that doesn't.
No,
right?
Definitely.
All right, so right on. So I mean, how much time, how much energy do you put into like KU rugby during a regular season, right? Mm-hmm. How much of your week is devoted to KU rugby?
Oh, I mean, I'm working out basically 5 to 6 days a week for rugby. So I'll go to the gym in season, yeah. Okay. Lift hard, do cardio, and then we have 2 full-on practices, 2 hours a week, Monday, Wednesday, and then we'll have a captain's run on Friday, and then game Saturday. So it's a pretty big commitment, but it gives you enough time to enjoy the rest of the college experience as well.
So you're going, I mean, so when is this regular season? Like, when are you guys, is it during school, like fall semester? Is that what, or when?
Yeah, it pretty much starts right at the beginning of fall semester. We call it like our league play. We have a season for the spring as well, but fall is when the league points stack up, and at the end of the fall season, we compete for playoff spots, and basically the winner of our entire division gets a chance to move on into like the national bracket and go on from there. The year before I got here, the team actually got all the way to the national championship, and we're runners up that year. So.
Yeah, and so what you're doing is you're going to school. You're dealing with a full-time academic schedule at the same time.
Yeah. It's very much a commitment. I think some people come in expecting a little bit less of one, but I find it really got me bought in. I can be a little biased because it was exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I feel like club kind of undersells it sometimes. When people just hear, club sport, you're not expecting the level that we're at when you get out there. But it fuels that competitive edge that I know Brett was talking about that earlier, that never really leaves you, especially as someone who you played club sports maybe in high school leading up to it. There's always going to be that drive to get into an environment like that again. I think this is a great opportunity for people to get back into that, where you're really practicing for something and the games mean something in that league play.
Yeah. And so, I mean, so you had the idea, you know what rugby was about. You were familiar with it because of your upbringing, but you came to the sport later, right? You'd had a career, like a high school career in football. Do you think you maybe would have handled the sports differently had you known about rugby earlier?
Oh, I absolutely would have played sooner.
Yeah.
I mean, just the sport itself. Obviously, it's different from football, but you know the physicality, the strategy. There's a lot of similarities there, but I'd say the biggest component for me is the social aspect of it. Just getting to meet new people, and I feel like with football too, you meet like a very concentrated type of person, like type of guy. Whereas rugby, you can meet people from all walks of life. Like, I mean, I met kids from Independence, Missouri, and Lenexa, Kansas, all playing on one team. And then at KU, I'm playing with, you know, guys like Jonah who are from Lenexa, and then guys like who we've had who are from Costa Rica, Kenya, South Africa, like all over. And it's just one big melting pot where you get to play and enjoy the spoils of victory. So.
Well, I feel like, I mean, even your traditional, you know, big three, baseball, basketball, football, at one point it had that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And, you know, as professionalism, and it's just such a business, you know, and there are so many people that are playing those sports, so many kids that are put on a track, and it's about what are the potential financial rewards. But this is just sort of like love of the game, because, like, why else are you going to do it, right?
Yeah, and I think some of that is what keeps people coming back. You mentioned like doing this on top of a full academic load, and it can seem like kind of a lot, but I think that's what really snares people is you get a taste of that brotherhood immediately, like at your first practice. I think it's pretty obvious, you know, what we got going behind the scenes here, and the more experience you get with that, the first social you come to, it's so easy to buy in after that point because you're just making friends for life by walking through the door. So showing up, putting in that work, I mean, that's what draws us all closer. And I think it's a pretty unique thing rugby has to offer because, like you said, it's not on a track. There's no real like high ceiling for it yet in America, hopefully. But you're doing it for the love of the game, for the love of the brotherhood that comes with it. It's not for like an end goal.
Yeah, and so you're a senior.
Yeah.
So you don't have all that many games left as part of the organization, right? How does that feel?
Well, I am trying to come back. I should be able to get at least another year or two of eligibility.
Okay. All right, so we're just okay.
I'm doing grad school,
Okay.
but I mean, still it is limited. I've come this far. I sometimes think about, you know, looking back on, I'm at least, you know, I'm in the descent of my career here at this point. So it can be a lot to think about sometimes, but you know, you just have to be grateful for what the journey that's been along the way, what it's brought.
Do you ever look at Conor and you're just like, God, man, if that guy, he doesn't even understand what he's got. You know, is there a thing where you sort of maybe take for granted, like when you're in the midst of it, that as you get closer to the end of it, you sort of can be more reflective? Is that? You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Or just, you know, you're 21, you're 22. I mean, it's just the same. It's just a day.
Yeah, I think it kind of comes with that too. You know, you get towards the end of the college experience, you look back on how fast things went by.
Yeah.
I found I came in right after that national championship team, so I came right into a really good team my freshman year, and then my sophomore year, we had a head coach turnover and a lot of those seniors aged out. So I came in right at the end of a really high period, and then have experienced kind of the rebuild essentially as a new coach gets settled in and everything. So it's stuff like that makes you think back on, you know, my freshman year. I had no idea how good that team was until I saw our team rebuilding from the ground up. And you take stuff like that for granted, especially when you're new to the sport and the competitive aspect of it in our league.
Yeah, I mean, it is you get some perspective from it from a little bit. So Conor, how old are you?
I'm 21.
21. Okay, so you've played 2 seasons. You're about to start your third, or you're about to start your second?
At KU, I played 3 seasons, and then I played 1 season as a senior in high school.
Okay.
So I'm in the midst of my third.
Okay. So when you look at guys like Steve and Rick here, and you look around the room and everything that you see here, how does that make you feel to be a part of it?
Oh, I mean, I really think it's a privilege just getting to know guys like Rick and Steve. You know, they can help you out in so many ways that go beyond rugby, just like life experience. And then on top of that, they just have so many stories that, you know, I look up to. I want to experience that as well. Like tours, we went to Australia at the end of my freshman year, and Rick played a huge part in organizing that. And you know, I feel like I really get to live the experience that they've had for so much of their lives, and I want to continue doing that. So, yeah.
Okay, you could have talked a little longer while I was drinking. I was drinking that.
Sorry
beer.
about that.
How do you feel? How do you feel about the future of KU Rugby?
I feel good. You know, I wasn't always involved in like the leadership side of things. We have like an exec board. And my freshman year, I got put on as a recruitment chair, so I wasn't always super involved with, you know, planning for the future or working on a lot of the big picture stuff. I got introduced to that sophomore year into junior year and started to kind of understand the scope of what it takes to keep this going.
Yeah.
Even though it's a club, I mean, that almost, it takes on more by itself because we're not, like, we get a little help from the school, but they're not running this. Like,
Right.
It's our extensive alumni network. It's a lot of people that really care about the sport and the club that keep this going. And you kind of realize, you know, how good we've had it as players and as young kids. And you kind of think, like, I really feel like I got to start giving back into this a little bit and doing what I can to keep it going.
Yeah.
So I feel good because I think a lot of people, a lot of guys my age and Connor's age are realizing that and realizing this doesn't continue without us getting involved and starting to help out.
Yeah. How important, Connor, how important is the team to you? Like,
Oh, it's so important. You know, it can be a lot of things to me. I mean, one, it's just a social setting. Like some of my best friends that I've made at KU are guys on the rugby team. You know, I'm in a fraternity. I have friends outside of all that. But, you know, these are guys who I can connect with on an athletic level and on a personal level. I can go to about personal things. And then it's also just a great escape, like we were talking about earlier, from school and the stress of academics. You know, I can go out onto the field and just release energy, hit people, you know, and forget about all the stress of the real world for a brief period. So
yeah. So so you hit people in football too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How's the hitting different between football and rugby?
Well, in rugby, there's a stricter, more stringent set of rules. So in football, you can kind of just fly in with your shoulder pads, you know, hit people. It doesn't exactly have to be on any body level as long as, you know, it's not a face mask or helmet to helmet. But in rugby, according to the rules, you specifically have to tackle them below the chest area, around the sternum area. Otherwise, it's automatically a penalty. And then if you hit them head to head, depending on the intent of it. So if it was purposely intentional, you'll get a red card, which means you're ejected from the game for the rest of it and the next game as well. Whereas a yellow card, you have to sit on the sideline for 10 minutes. Jonah and I were just in an all-star game in South Carolina for our conference all-stars, and I got a yellow card in the first 10-ish minutes and had to spend about half the first half on the sideline. So I have a very personal experience with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, did they just play a softer brand of rugby out there? Is that
It's a questionable call.
It was a very questionable call, but I will also say it's difficult for rugby officials because they don't have replay unless you're at the highest level.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is very like fast game speed, so you have to make the call right at that moment.
Yeah. Supposedly, like the professionals at every level are doing the same thing, but
Yeah, player safety is really paramount when it comes to contact. So,
But I will say it is much more physical, the actual hitting. I mean, you can get lifted off your legs. You don't have back padding, so you land on your back. It can be pretty tough. You don't have the helmet to protect your head even when you hit the ground. So
yeah, I mean, I watch it, and when I've watched it, like the higher levels, it's just like, yikes, that looks like brutal.
yeah,
But when you talk about the fact that there are specific guidelines to tackling, you know, because the stakes are higher, that it's legislated. Like you have to do it a certain way. So, I mean, do you remember the hardest hit you've ever taken?
a couple come to mind.
Yeah.
I think the first time, there are two unconfirmed potential concussions in my career.
Which we're not bragging. We're not bragging
No.
about having concussions.
That's just what comes to mind.
BiehlCast is anti-concussion.
Yeah, one comes to mind more than the other because I remember it more.
Because of, was it the first one that you remember more? Because,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it was my freshman year. I had a little less experience.
Well, you've already had like the trauma, so.
Yeah, we played a couple men's teams. We do that sometimes. It's like we play our college teams in our league play, but when we're playing friendlies, sometimes we'll reach out to local men's teams. So we play the Wichita men's team pretty regularly, usually once a year. Our coach now actually still plays for them sometimes. That's where he came from. We like those guys. We love playing against them, but they have some big guys. And I usually back myself with my speed. That's kind of my trademark, but got too cocky with it freshman year, thought I got around a guy. And when I went to look to offload a ball, I was airborne before I knew the guy was even hitting me. And then I hit my head pretty hard on the ground, and that was the end of my day. But
All right, so you remember that hit. What about you?
I would have to say mine comes in two different experiences. My first one was the latter end of my high school days. Brett mentioned it earlier, but I was playing rugby sevens in Utah, and we were playing a team that consisted primarily of Pacific Islanders. And I didn't knock my head or anything on this hit, but I got lifted completely off my feet in the air and folded. I'd never been manhandled that before. I weigh 230 pounds, so for someone to do that, they were pretty strong. And then the other one, what happens a lot in rugby, there will be a penalty, and then the ref will give you the opportunity to, tap the ball on your foot, and then you can go. So if that happens, for instance, close to the try line, we'll just tap it and send a guy straight into the defensive line to try and score or bunch up the defense so we can get the ball out. So I'm usually the guy who takes that ball and you run it straight into the defensive line. It's straight, very hard contact. And there was one instance that happened against Oklahoma this year where I got through the first guy, and then another guy who I'd say was probably around 260 pounds came in and just absolutely folded me. You're pretty vulnerable when you're just standing there. So yeah.
So it's sort of fun to get jacked up a little bit, though, right?
Yeah.
Connor dishes it out more than he receives it.
Well, I would say, like, if you take a shot and, you get back up from it, there is something to be said, having earned something, for yourself. Like, I took it because the reality is, that's all anything is just like taking shots and making the decision to like get back up. And so how do you feel like, so what are you studying?
I'm doing exercise science as a major, and then I have a minor in healthcare administration. That's what I'm trying to do my grad school in.
Okay. And when do you graduate?
This spring.
Yeah. Okay. And so how do you feel like this experience has been at KU Rugby? How do you feel like it's going to serve you going forward?
I think the first thing that comes to mind, it has been the leadership opportunities that I got through this club. When I first came into it, I wasn't expecting to get into any kind of role that I've been in so far. It was supposed to just be, a fun thing to do on the side. And I really fell in love with the program and what we have set up here, and just found myself wanting to get more and more involved. And now I'm in one of those leadership positions, and I think that is what's going to serve me the best moving forward, is the experience it's given me. As the captain, I have to think about a lot of things when it comes to how I'm going to talk to the team, what I'm going to talk about, even having conversations with the coaches and the officials. There's a lot of mediating I have to do, and a lot of communication skills that I've had to develop as I've gotten more used to the position.
Yeah. I think that's a very thoughtful, insightful answer. What do you think? How do you feel like this is going to serve you going forward?
So my major is journalism on the law school track. So I would say a lot of what I get out of it too is similar to Jonah. This the leadership opportunities. Rugby is a very vocal sport. Whether you're on the field communicating, or with your brothers outside of it, talking to them, getting them motivated. So I think that's the biggest aspect, and then also just using critical thinking. There's a lot of planning that goes into the sport, not just on the field, but with socials, with fundraising, we have a interesting relationship with the KU club sports program. Sometimes they're not a huge fan of us, so we have to work through a lot of that as well. So it's just an all around experience.
So I think that, from an outsider looking at rugby, so the thing that you notice initially is sort of the violence of it, right? Just the fact it's hitting, it's like football, you just have that. And so I think, so when I think about like from the other side, from like your perspective, like, that the physicality is there. It's just, and everybody who like goes on the field for a match, no matter who the team is, everybody knows that's a part of it. And to me, it would feel like that's sort of a baseline, that the thing that sets the teams apart, because everybody can be physical, is this what we're talking about, like the communication and like how and like the structure and how it's organized.
Yeah, it's a more strategic game than I think people give it credit for, more so than I knew as well going into it. Like, even as someone who grew up watching it and playing it wherever I could, it was so much more in depth than I realized once I got onto like this level. And I can only imagine how much more advanced it gets on like a pro stage and stuff like that. The physicality is really like, it's kind of like a qualifier. Everyone's got to have a certain amount to be competitive. And then on top of that, you're on the right track. Like, then it becomes the planning. It's almost like play calling in football. It's like you have to have a real good offensive mind and understanding of the sport to be able to draw up the plays. I think I could best liken it to basketball, where you're calling plays on the fly a lot of the time. There will be like just little ones that you can throw in. We'll have more complicated ones at stoppages, whether that's like ball coming in from out of bounds or off of a penalty. Kind of the same deal in basketball. Like, you'll drop a play to do an off a throw in or something like that. But then you also have those on the go quick moves that you can use in a pinch just to get around, get over the line. There's a lot that goes into that I don't think people really give it credit for.
Yeah. So Conor, do you think that like for a team that is it more important? Do you feel like preparation is more important than the ability to improvise?
That's a tough question. I'd definitely say preparation, just because once you have it instilled in your team, you can improvise even better. So, for example, we have multiple plays that we'll run situationally in practice, and that allows us, when we're on the field, to improvise playing against certain teams. You see the situations that are set up on the field, you can call it on the fly, as opposed to having a structure that, you can't really adjust to in game when things aren't going your way. So I would definitely say preparation, but preparation allows for more improv.
Yeah, and so the other thing I'm thinking of as we sit here is like, so it was, I think it's Mike Tyson that's like, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth, and I feel like you're getting punched in the mouth a lot in rugby, and so is it a situation where a coach can implement like a change in strategy? Is that what's fundamental, or is it the team as one knowing, hey, we have to shift our priority to get through this, but to solve, we have to shift how we're solving this problem? Do you understand what I'm asking there?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think a lot of the time on our level, you'll get a little bit of both. But if you watch like international games or club games on a pro level, a lot of the time the head coach is up in a box, and in football they've got the radio down to the players. You don't have that in rugby. It's the coach helps you as much as they can throughout the week. They set you up for success. They talk over a lot of situations with you, but a lot of the time it's supposed to be up to the players. You get scored on a couple times, you got to rally, you got to talk to each other, find out what's going wrong, and fix it amongst yourselves. It's not like you're not going to get some call in, you're not going to get told what to do. You got to figure out what's going wrong and how to fix it. If you get scored on, or if you score, a lot of the time there's a brief period where when the extra point's being taken or something like that, your team is grouped up under the goalpost or something like that, and we have that quick 5 to 10 seconds to talk about what needs to change and how we need to change it, and then you're just going again. We're restarting, and you hope that those changes in those few seconds are enough to get you back on the right track.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's interesting about some of your soccer similar, and the fact that the way that the clock works, the fact that you sort of have to figure it out in between the lines. Like coaches, managers, they're important, but at the end of the day, the players have to like sort it out in between the lines. So Conor, I mean, how do you feel about, when you're no longer playing, what do you feel like your contribution is going to be to the club?
That is a good question. I haven't thought about it that much just because, I'm a junior.
Yeah.
But one thing...
So you have forever. It's like 18 months, man.
Definitely not forever, but, things change. And I think one thing I'd really like to get into is coaching. I'd say one of my biggest strengths is just being vocal and talking to people. And I think I'm great at communicating things. And I love socializing. So I would love to pass on, knowledge and understanding of the game to younger people, especially players who have not played the game very long. Like we've said multiple times, we get a lot of guys who are brand new to the sport, whether they cross over from football or they're just looking to socialize. So I think I'd really benefit the club by, continuing to help coach like Brett does. It's just great to be involved and form relationships. So
yeah, no, I think the team thing is always like super important to me, and I think about, if you had the opportunity to benefit from an organization, you had like this, like the reason you benefit from that is because people like these guys over here are still invested in it. And I think there's a certain responsibility to kind of like keep this stuff going. And I like what I'm hearing from the two of you, because it sounds like you guys take ownership of it. I mean, it's a club that is literally just the people. I mean, that's really the only thing that holds it together, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's all the people. It's all the alumni. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find anything like it, I think, across most of the U.S. It's very unique. Pretty much every team we go against is, jealous of what we've got going on, because it's not many teams that are celebrating anniversaries as frequently as we are, or having such huge turnouts for the alumni weekends. Like, that's one of the biggest crowds I've ever played in front of in any sport. When we had an alumni game against K-State where, we'll have 200 to 300 people out at Westwick. I mean, it's ridiculous, the amount of people we get out there.
Yeah, you guys have parking attendants. I thought that was interesting when I went out there. I didn't know what to expect when I went out there, but it's a super nice setup.
Yeah.
Do you get amped for game day? Like, I mean, is it like...
Does Conor get amped?
So whether it's just, in my head or I need like a white monster to fuel me, trust me, I get amped. I always find something that gets me motivated, and I'd say Jonah can agree with me on this, is that we find something to motivate our team, whether it's we lost these guys last year. For instance, we my sophomore year, Jonah's junior year, we had played K-State twice. In the first game, we lost to them, and then our second game, we blew a multi-score lead to them. The game went to overtime, and the very start of overtime, one of our players, very hardworking guy, great teammate, completely broke his leg. I think he injured something else. And, with the state of the game, they wanted to call it and, have a mutual tie, and K-State wanted to play. So we ended up having to forfeit, despite the fact that we had to wait an hour for our teammate to get an ambulance to come there and then have him lifted off the field. So we took that very personally. And then when we came in and played K-State this year, that was the talking point for even the week before, because we had a bye week before. So you could just feel the energy and the hype for the game building over time. And then we went out there and beat them by I believe 21 points. So yeah, you always find something, whether it's personal or just internal motivation.
Who are your biggest rivals?
Man, sometimes it feels like, no one really likes us. I mean,
Yeah,
we like
that.
Iowa.
I'd say
usually.
Iowa State. You can throw Iowa State in there.
Yeah, guys are going to get fired up for K-State, Mizzou,
Yeah.
Iowa State. Iowa State felt a little bit like, not as immediate, but they've just been so good for so long. It turns into one of those teams, kind of like the Chiefs, where every time you play them, you want to beat them.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so when you guys win and you face these, the older guys after the game, how does that feel versus when you guys lose?
I mean, part of what's so great about it is it's not going to change that much. I mean, the mood immediately afterwards is going to be a little different, especially in a rivalry game, something like that. But with our support system, I mean, they're just looking more at how we play and how much we put into it than the result of the game.
Yeah.
That's always the question. I mean, the first thing Rick asks me after every game, he'll even call me to ask me, did everyone have fun? Did everyone that played have fun and enjoy themselves? Because that's what he cares about. And then he'll ask me about the score after he asks me, did everyone have fun? Did anyone get hurt?
Yeah.
That's more important than the result at the end of the day. So we know these guys, they're not going to, turn tail and quit on us
Right.
if we lose to K-State.
Right. But Conor, do you want to lose to K-State? And how does it feel?
Absolutely not. I mean, Jonah, I think I can speak for everyone, especially Jonah's. When we lost that first game, everyone was pretty pissed off. I don't think I saw our head coach, Seth, smile for about a month. But I will say at the end of the day, too, regardless of loss, everything can be a learning experience. And especially for newer guys, I think that's where they really see how special our club is how we handle losses. Because, we don't point fingers and blame. We just move on and we find ways to improve. So,
yeah. How much of, you look at the physicality of it, but it's a mental game, right? I mean, just managing your own mind is a big part of it, right?
Momentum's a huge thing, too. I mean, the mental game cannot be overstated, I don't think. I feel like I have a little bit more of a personal insight into that this year, especially. I took on our kicking duties for the first time.
Okay.
And that is a whole nother ball game. I mean, that was brand new for me. We had an English guy in this year, an exchange student. So I was like, all right, we got our kicker. English guy's played rugby before, but injuries and stuff leads to just next man up. And by week 2, I was like, all right, I actually need to learn how to kick this year. And Brett was talking about it earlier with the respect the kicker thing. It's very much a different aspect to the game rather than that go, 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 a lot of intensity. As soon as you get over that try line and the try is scored, it's like, all right, you got to slow down, focus on it, and it's like taking a golf shot. You really just got to try not to think too much and light it up, try to knock it through.
How do you shift momentum? How do you turn momentum? Because momentum is a thing, right? It's an inertia. And now all of a sudden you've already got this thing moving a certain direction, and now you got to turn it the other direction. What do you do, Conor?
You give Conor the ball.
Okay. Right.
That's very flattering from Jonah, but I'd say in general, that's where the sport is very similar to football. It can be a big hit or just a big offensive play in general, like a strong carry. But I'd say the biggest momentum shifters come through team plays. So I can think of multiple plays that we've had. One game, for instance, we were struggling against Oklahoma State, who is by far the worst team I've ever played. Sorry, but it's true.
Just in quality, they're lousy athletes. I think that was the game I was at, to be honest with you. I think it was Oklahoma State.
That was away.
Yeah, it was away.
Okay,
so I'd hope it wasn't, because that was like watching chalk or paint dry.
They're not bad athletes.
Okay.
They're not bad athletes, but they are just
I'm not licensed in Oklahoma. I don't care.
Yeah, they're a poorly coached team, I would say. But we were struggling early just because we had short numbers. Guys couldn't travel. And we had a play that I think was 4 or 5 passes that led to a score. And, everyone being involved in that play really got the rest of the team fired up, and it ignited a spark that led us to victory. So I think those were the biggest plays.
Okay. Right on. All right. So, when you grow up, what are you going to be? What do you want to be?
Well,
who do you want to be?
If my career track leads on correctly, I should end up as a lawyer. We'll see about that. But just as a person, I want to be someone that people can go to or look up to, that they feel like they can, talk to about things. Everyone talks about mental health nowadays, and I feel like a great way to solve that is just having someone who you can confide in and talk to about things. And that's something that I get about the club. It's not about the sport. It's about the relationships. And I've met so many fascinating, well-rounded people that I can just go to about a lot of things in life, and I want to be in that consideration as well. So
yeah, listen, it's about community, and that is clearly something that KU Rugby has. What about you? I feel like you're an old man, but what about you?
Yeah, and we're both 21.
Yeah.
I think it's the facial hair. My bad.
No, you're good. I thought Connor's answer was really insightful. I mean, I think most guys involved with the club would like to be, they'd like to end up in a position similar to a lot of the alumni are right now. You know, being able to give advice, look back on, you know, the good old days, but also just the amount of connections you develop through a club like this, being able to be that person that can, you know, get to know one of the young guys coming through this program and connect them in a way that might help them out down the line or, you know, advance their future would be a really powerful thing to be able to do. I think being able to just, you know, create those connections for young people and help them out wherever you can.
Yeah, well, it's hard not to like any of that. So, well, hey, I'm Robert Biehl. You've just watched the BiehlCast podcast here at Johnnys Tavern. We kicked off the season for 2026, 3 episodes. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this. All right.
No, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Great.
All right.